A few years ago, I did a video on attachment styles, and I feel like I didn't go that in depth about them. I definitely shared about the experiment, which you can definitely check out, and I also share more in depth about attachment styles in my course 11 Weeks to Break Free from the Past, which I definitely recommend you check it out. I have a ton of worksheets and tools for you to be able to really heal your attachment style and your fear of abandonment. So if you really struggle with a fear of abandonment and you haven't been able to tackle it, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's in the link down below. And I don't just focus on attachment style, I focus on really deep wounds that are from your past, and maybe you discovered why you have them, but you haven't really gained those tools. And I really focus on tools and really trying to heal them. So definitely check it out if you're interested. So with attachment styles, which I think this has been a big thing lately, a lot of people have been focusing on attachment styles, but your relationships now are really dependent on how your caregivers treated you and your needs starting in infancy. So we learn how relationships should go and how people will treat us based in our home, how our caregivers treat us. And we discovered this by John Bowlby, who then later, Mary Ainsworth had taken on the research and did further research, but they discovered and they broke it down into 4 attachment styles. And like I said, these attachment styles will explain how you view the world and how you view your relationships with others. And as I know, understand with attachment styles, you can relate to all of them. You know, people are not black and white where you just fit in one category. You can be like, oh, you know, I can relate to that, or I can relate to this, and you can have some qualities of, or some traits of each, but usually you can relate more to one over the other, and that's more of your attachment style. But if you notice you have some traits of, you know, the different attachment styles, then you know, okay, this is what I maybe need to work on, this part of me. So it doesn't have to be so concrete and black and white, and you don't have to fit in a certain box or category. So the first one, which last I checked since 1997, or that's when they did the research, that in 1997, that 65% of people have a secure attachment. So most people, which is awesome, have a secure attachment. 35% people have an insecure attachment. But so for the people that have a secure attachment, they could trust that their needs would be attended to. So when they cried, they know that their diaper would be changed, they would be fed, they would get cuddles, they would get hugged, they would get taken care of the way that they needed, and their parent knew what they needed and attended to that need. They grew up in an upbringing where they could trust their parents, and they knew their parents would have their back. So think of it this way: when the child plays, they can look back and see their parent will be right there in the background, and they feel safe exploring the world. They learned that their emotional needs were met, their physical needs were met, and so this then, you know, going into adulthood, they now view relationships as a good thing. They feel secure in themselves, so they feel they can attend to their own needs because they grew up in an upbringing where the people they need to depend on showed, hey, you know, it's okay to explore things and take risks, and I'll be here in the background, but you go and explore and you can trust yourself. So they formed a trust in themselves, and they also healthily can form trust in other people. They know who to trust, they know who to maybe stay away from. The world feels okay to explore, they feel safe exploring, taking risks. They understand there's negative and bad in the world, but they feel comfortable taking those risks because they know they can trust in themselves to be able to handle anything. So these people are just very secure and confident in themselves and in forming relationships. And this is where most of us want to be. It sounds pretty great, and you can 100% get here by healing your insecure attachment. If you didn't grow up in a secure environment, if you grew up in a chaotic environment, or you didn't have your needs attended to, you can eventually get to a place where you have a secure attachment. So now we understand what we're seeking after and what healthy relationships look like, or what secure, rather, relationships look like. Now we can talk about the 3 other types, which are insecure attachment. The first insecure attachment is called anxious-ambivalent. So what happened when you were a child with anxious-ambivalent is that your needs were met very inconsistently. When you cried, sometimes your diaper would get changed, sometimes they wouldn't, sometimes you would get hugged, sometimes you wouldn't. It was very confusing. You didn't know what need was going to be attended to, or even it could have been that you were smothered so much that it became about your parent and not about you. So your parent would make you feel like you had to be their friend, and when your parent cried or your caregiver cried, you were there to attend to them and make them feel better. And this comes from a parent or a caregiver that also has anxious attachment, so they feel like they need someone else to tend to their needs, and so the parent made it about themselves and not the child, and you will feel that you cannot survive without your caregiver. You feel you need your caregiver to be okay, because when your parent is anxious and is always on top of you, then you'll feel like, oh, I can't attend to my own needs. You don't feel very secure and you don't trust yourself. And that's because of this anxiousness of your caregiver. You will feel that the world is very dangerous and that it's scary and that you should be cautious. And so this child that has anxious attachment, when they're playing, they will continuously look back at the parent to see, like, is this okay? Is this safe to do? You will feel very nervous and you won't feel safe doing things. You can't look back and trust your parents' judgment because your parents didn't prove they were very trustworthy. It was so inconsistent. So because if you have an anxious attachment, your parent didn't teach you how to trust yourselves, they weren't very trusting, you then will feel like you need to trust other people to make you feel safe. And those other people aren't just any old people, it's specific people that either remind you of your anxious caregiver or people that are more on the avoidant side, because you are trying to heal your attachment style through your relationship, which is something we talk about often, repetition compulsion. So when you don't have things resolved in yourself, your mind always needs to resolve things. We don't like being uncomfortable, so you will seek it outside of yourself and be like, okay, maybe I'll feel better when I'm in this relationship. Oh, there's an avoidant person, maybe by getting their love I'll be approved of and worthy. So in your adult relationships, when you're in a relationship with someone, or even like a friendship, like a deep friendship, you will pick someone that makes you feel safe and can attend to all of your needs. And then what happens because of this insecurity, because really when you have anxious attachment, you struggle a lot with self-worth and not feeling good enough because you didn't learn how to depend on your own and you didn't learn how to feel good on your own. You need other people to make you feel worthy. You seek a lot of outside validation. So then when you have this person, or you have people in your life that you really love, you can get really insecure and triggered by certain things, like not getting phone calls or not getting texts right away. Or maybe when they go out, you get worried that they're gonna cheat on you or something will happen to them. You will be very hyper aware to rejection. So you'll be looking for ways to see, oh, is this person rejecting me? What is their body language doing? What are they saying? Oh, they didn't say I love you 2 times today. That means, they're seeking outside of the relationship, or they don't like me anymore. Is there something I did? Did I do something wrong? And you will often rid yourself to make sure this other person's okay, kind of like you did in your relationship with your parent. And you often will tell yourself these stories that no one likes you, you're not worthy of love, and you have such an extreme insecurity and you lack so much confidence in yourself. So when you are healing this insecure attachment, which I go really in depth in my 11 weeks to break free course, you need to focus on dealing with your triggers, challenging that story, using facts and evidence to back it up and to challenge it. Learn how to deal with your triggers when you're telling yourself that story, and often it comes down to when you're telling yourself those stories, you being able to regulate your nervous system because you're on high alert. You're like, oh my God, I'm in danger, I'm unsafe, the person that I love and that I need, because you feel like you need them as much as food and water, and what happens if you don't have food and water? You're dead. So you feel like when this person, that's why you'll get a lot of anxieties, because you feel like when this person is distancing themselves or they're not behaving the way that they usually do, you immediately are like, I'm in danger, and then your nervous system goes off. You're like, sound the alarms, fight flight's gonna kick in, or a fawn response is gonna kick in. So it's about regulating your nervous system, taking deep breaths, being calm, and soothing that part of you and saying, thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I'm okay. I don't need these alarm signs anymore. It helped me in childhood, but I don't need these alarm signs anymore, and I'm going to be okay. I got it from here. I can attend to my own needs. I don't need this person. I want this person. I am safe. I need me. This extra person is an extra pleasure in my life, and I can trust them to be here, but even if they're not, I'm gonna be okay. And this creates security in yourself, because that's the main thing you want to do, is to create security in yourself and detaching from them being a need to a want. And really the main thing with insecure or anxious attachment is to become confident in yourself and to become more independent. And it's a matter of feeling good on your own and learning how to attend to your needs. You know, what do I need? Also being able to delegate and say, okay, I have friends for this. This is when I can go to my friends. This is when I can go to my partner. This is when I can go to myself. Because it's not just, we don't live in a world where it's only about us. We also need to kind of delegate and see like, oh, you know, I need my friend for this, or I really need to do this on my own. I need to spend some time with myself. I need to soothe myself. Oh, I really, you know, really need help with my partner in this area. That's how you can really learn how to be secure in yourself. The next insecure attachment is avoidant dismissive. And with avoidant dismissive, if you have this attachment, when you were a child, your needs were completely dismissed. So you may have heard things like, stop crying, that's enough, or you were ignored often when you were asking something, especially in infancy, your needs were not really attended to. You maybe would go with dirty diapers, or you wouldn't get a lot of hugs and a lot of attention. When you would say, you know, look at this picture, your caregiver wouldn't really look at it, they wouldn't attend to you, they'd maybe be distracted on their phone, or they would be on the computer or what have you, they'd always be at work. So basically the parent was pretty distant, and they showed discomfort anytime you asked for a need, or you needed something, or they were very uncomfortable about emotions, or they reacted with a lot of shame towards emotion. So they would shame you when you would have emotions, they would dismiss you when you had emotions, they would send you to your room when you had emotions or when you had a need. And so that taught you to feel a lot of shame for vulnerabilities and for having needs. They were very uncomfortable with you being vulnerable. And it's not just with emotions vulnerability, asking for something and depending on someone is a vulnerability, and they showed a lot of shame and discomfort towards that. So this child, when they would play, they wouldn't look back at their parent at all. They, you know, the parent could be there, could not be not, didn't matter to them. They felt comfortable going up to any stranger and talking to them. Everyone just kind of seemed the same. But really, studies have shown with avoidant attachment children, they had a brick wall, so they had a brick face, and so they had a very poker face. They didn't show a lot of distress or emotion, but when they tested their like blood pressure and their heart rate and their cortisol levels, like their heart would be racing inside, and their cortisol levels were like straight up. They had a lot of stress and distress and anxiety that wasn't shown on the outside, and they felt like they had to do this to suppress all their emotions. They couldn't outwardly express these emotions because it would result in being ignored or being punished. So really, they would avoid any type of attachment or relationship to their caregiver because it was a lot safer that way. So if you have this attachment, I know I keep saying you and they, I always interchange them, it's hard, but I'm hoping you can follow with me. It's something I gotta work on. So what does this mean in your adulthood with relationships? You will have an interest in having a relationship, getting married, all the things. You'll have an interest, but when it actually happens, you will feel uncomfortable and you'll have a hard time committing. You'll be emotionally unavailable. Other people's emotions can make you feel uncomfortable, or even you being vulnerable makes you very uncomfortable. Like I said, there's a lot of shame revolved around vulnerabilities and emotion. So you will be afraid to get vulnerable because you don't want to see, people have empathy or get weird, and it's just like, it's so uncomfortable. And you also feel uncomfortable when other people cry because it's like, I don't know how to deal with my emotions, and then you're showing your emotions. That's uncomfortable. And you can often feel like people are needy when they're just asking for basic things like attention or a hug or some time. So this can cause you to be very dismissive of other people's needs. And so because of that, you can't connect or get close to other people, and you will often attract anxious attachment people, so people that are overly needy because they're trying to form security and trying to heal their wound. Or you may attract other emotionally unavailable people because you yourself are so emotionally unavailable. So when it comes to healing from avoidant attachment, it's really a matter of you starting to not feel so much shame around vulnerability and dealing with your shame about emotions and getting comfortable and feeling safe with your emotions and with vulnerability and with connections and with depending on other people. You need to learn how to co-regulate, which means being able to learn how to lean on other people. Since you were taught in childhood you couldn't lean on anyone, you couldn't trust anyone, you had to depend on yourself. You're extremely independent. So with avoidant attachment, it's basically the opposite of insecure attachment, where you need to learn how to be less independent and more, I wouldn't say necessarily dependent, but kind of more dependent on other people and not rely on yourself so much. So you will overly rely on yourself. So you need to rely less on yourself and be like, you know what, I can ask for help for this, or hey, I can include someone in this part of my life. And something I talk about in my avoidant attachment video, which I made a few months ago, I think it was, I was talking about how you will come up, if you have avoidant attachment, you will have a structure in your life so you can avoid intimacy, or you can avoid having to deal with other people. And so really you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and allowing you to kind of put down these walls, because it's like a lot of walls are built up, and welcoming vulnerability. And it's going to be so uncomfortable. It's going to feel yucky and gross, and because there's a lot of shame involved in it. And the antidote to shame is compassion. So feeling compassion for yourself. Hey, you're allowed to feel these emotions, really validating yourself. You're allowed to feel things. It's okay to welcome other people. It's safe to welcome people, because you can trust yourself and you know who to trust. You know who to, watch out for people that maybe don't feel so safe, and really welcoming those people that do feel safe, that do have healthy character traits. Be okay with people disappointing you, and accepting that people aren't perfect and they're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. They still can be a part of your life, and it's not needy to want to be loved or for someone to want to love you. So basically, just stop being so dismissive and avoidant and dive into it. Dive into the vulnerability. And then the last one is fearful-avoidant, which is also known as disorganized attachment. It's basically a combination of both anxious and avoidant attachment. So when you have fearful-avoidant, you are desperate for closeness of others, but you also want to avoid at the same time because it feels very dangerous and unsafe. It's a very much push-pull effect. And how this happens is usually when you grow up in very abusive environments, and you can also have abusive environments, obviously in the avoidant, you'll have more neglectful parents, and in the anxious attachment, you can also have abusive parents as well, not being able to regulate their own emotions. But with this one, it's extreme, where you have like bipolar parent or a narcissistic parent, sociopath, a lot of narcissists actually have fearful-avoidant attachment. But so what happens is there's such an extreme inconsistency of your needs being met, and it even can result in punishment from asking for your needs. So sometimes you'll know your needs are getting met, sometimes it will result in maybe some sort of punishment, maybe getting yelled at, maybe getting hit. You never know what's going to come when you're asking for your needs. This is a lot of times where intermittent reinforcement is involved in these types of relationships. And so when you're a child experiencing this, you never know, are they coming or going? Are they going to give me a hug and then hit me afterwards? Are they, going to be loving but then scream at me afterwards? I can't read my parents' behavior. And so when you get that love, it feels good, but then you're like, when is this going to be taken away? What's the bad thing? You're always waiting for the shoe to drop, or the shoe to drop, or for something bad to happen. So when the parent would get close, you'd be like, oh, this is nice. And then there would also be this feeling of like, do I need to run? Is this okay? Where do I put my hands? How do I behave in this situation? Going into the playing example, when these children go to play, they're very hesitant to play, and they can be very nervous making decisions like, is it okay for me to play? Should I not play? You can get very much in a frozen state as a child when you have disorganized attachment. You're unsure how to attend to your needs, and you're unsure what decisions to make. So going into when you are an adult, how this will affect your relationships is you also will be very push and pull. And so you will want to go into a relationship, and then things are starting to go good, and then you get scared, and then you'll pull away, and you're like, no, I'm okay, I'm good on my own, and then you'll avoid being in those relationships, and it can make the world feel disorganized, and you're unsure, and you feel very insecure in yourself and knowing what to do or what decisions to make. And this often can result in some narcissistic behaviors or some borderline behaviors to come out, and you feel very unsafe in yourself and with the world, and you don't know what to expect in the world since there were such extreme inconsistencies in childhood. And so you'll feel a combination of both, of anxious attachment, being able to relate to anxious attachment, and also being able to relate to avoidant attachment as well, and combining the two. And you don't have to be borderline or narcissist to have fearful avoidant. It just means that you had such extreme inconsistencies in your childhood and you're unsure how to navigate the world because it was so inconsistent in your childhood and you never know what was coming and going. So how to heal this is you're going to need both the healing tools of insecure attachment and fearful avoidant attachment. So how to heal this is you're going to need both healing tools of anxious attachment and healing tools of avoidant attachment, and combining the two of feeling safe and knowing and learning how to attend to your needs and comforting yourself and your nervous system, as well as feeling safe in other people and learning who to trust and learning I can trust myself, I can trust other people. And like I said, I have more in-depth tools in my 11 weeks to break free from the past. Highly recommend you check it out. I really go in depth with this stuff, so you really feel like you can apply these tools as soon as you start watching, and you can really heal these things, because it's definitely possible. Doesn't mean you're going to be 100% a completely different person. No, there's always going to be triggers and things that you have to work through. That's part of what healing is. But you're going to be different, where the world isn't going to feel so dangerous or scary, or it's going to be easier to have healthy relationships because you understand yourself and you understand your attachment style and you understand what to expect. And when you have knowledge, knowledge is power. So learning these things and then attending to your needs and what you really need and giving yourself specific tools, because it's not one size fits all, then you will feel a lot safer and you will feel like the world makes more sense. So what do you guys think? Leave it on in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. By the way, if you're wondering which attachment style I am, I'll give you 2 seconds to leave it down in the comments below. Pause this and guess. Okay, ready? I'm avoidant attachment. But now, because I've done some healing, I'm more secure. This hair is just not happy today. And you know what? Sometimes you just have not happy hair days, you know? So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below. So what do you guys think? Please leave in the comments below. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and like, comment. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below. And please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. No, that's why because I'm saying it wrong. That's why I'm confused. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below, and please don't forget to like. What is the one that I usually? Why am I brain dead? I don't know if you heard, but I have a course called 11 Weeks to Break Free from the Past, which you can check down below, which would help you if you're struggling with attachment styles. Link in the below. Link in the below. Link below.